Bonnie. I will call this meeting to order at 6:02 p.m. If you would all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Tonight we have quite a few things under board recognition, but I would like to begin by inviting Principal Collins and the Ording School Math Department to the podium. And Vice Principal McBride, of course. So as the Board of Directors, we've been looking for increases in student learning outcomes. At the January board work session, we had the pleasure to hear about the math work that you're doing, and we were impressed with what has gone on in your schools to improve mathematics learning at Ording Middle School. Your state testing data in math grew at every grade level last year between 5 and 11%. And this year, you initiated the pilot of illustrative math. We know it's completely different from the way that you've taught before, and we've been impressed with how you leaned into it anyway, despite it being different. Your students did an excellent job articulating how this is a different kind of math experience and how the students have been the lead learners to make that happen. So we wanted to thank you for helping to raise the educational bar here at Ording. It's been very important here for the Board of Directors, and while we understand the pilot is not yet done, and that you're still getting to the results of all of it, we just wanted to applaud your hard work and encourage you for trying something different with your students and giving them an opportunity to thrive in new ways. So thank you very much. And I believe we have gifts.
What?
So I'm going to need some help. Ian, you want to give us a hand? So, no judgments on what you all place in these
Thank you
mugs
very much.
to help you through the math. The math, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good seeing you again. Good seeing you again. We can deliver the others tomorrow if you'd like. Well, not tomorrow.
Oh, I thought these were for now.
They are. You might take them back to
Do
school.
you want
Not at all.
the
Perfect.
rest?
We'll
Yeah,
send them
well,
all.
we can take.
Load you up for the team.
To give it to us, it's probably.
Yeah, we should have one for
Thanks for coming tonight.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for being
Let us
here.
recognize you.
You bet. These guys are awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really appreciate the work you're doing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to updates. Keep going.
I also want to give a shout out to Mr. Scott, who, you know the story, who, I'm at the grocery store with my grandson, who's in the life skills class, and Mr. Scott yells out to him and stops and visits with JJ, because JJ apparently visits his room most mornings to come in and say hi and
Dance contest.
and enjoy his music, and so he's reaching out to somebody that doesn't even come to his class, and I have to say thank you, and thank you for trying to have a conversation with him in the grocery store.
That creepy now.
That was great. No, he said hello, goodbye, and that was supposed to be it, but you and I made it before. So I want to say thank you for going beyond what you need to do.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Now you gotta solve the distance problems, we're leaving.
You gonna start your weekend already?
Yeah, it's really a time off. Yeah.
Sorry.
turn it over to the rest of the board members, and then we also have a number of other things I'll move on to mention. But before we get too far, I have two important things that I'd like to do. First, I would like to recognize Brittany Brittany is our public information officer here with the district, and her social media and communications work surrounding our bond campaign, and alongside all of the other communication and engagement goals that we've had as a district. She did a fantastic job aligning our board goals around communication and transparency with the messaging and video work and imagery surrounding our bond that really resulted in not just increased engagement in our social media platforms. Based on data, we saw real significant improvements there. So congratulations to Brittany for that work. But also, I want to recognize her efforts and everyone's efforts in building up the number of voters who participated in this election and the other improvements we saw. So Brittany, we've been very impressed. I've been very impressed with your work and really wanted to recognize you for all of that effort.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Speaking of the bond, I also want to, with my heart, thank the staff and volunteers for their work in support of the bond. I'd also like to thank the clear majority of voters who voted yes in support of our students and our schools. While the bond did not pass, the very real needs of the district are no less critical and urgent than they were before 8 p.m. on Tuesday night. I am asking the board, staff, and community to continue the important work toward providing safe, healthy, adequate, and modern learning spaces for our students. There's more work to do, the need still exists, and so we'll continue that conversation with our community. So this time I'd like to open the floor to the board for additional comments and additional recognition.
I want to give a shout out to PTA and the elementary school, specifically OES, for the glow dance, which was, wow, there were so many people there. I did hear a lot of comments about, we don't have very many bathrooms and things like that, but I mean, there were hundreds of people, and it really showed how important it is for our community to have those kinds of family nights and activities where everybody can go, have a good time, It was just a fun time. It was just a fun time, and it was packed. I never made it to the dance floor because there were too packed. Oh, but seriously, because I do love to dance.
I just want to do a shout out to our bowling team. They took fourth in state. That was pretty awesome to see that in year two and seeing the improvements. Also the cheerleaders, same thing. They took fifth in state, so good job to them. It's just awesome to see how that's going. I also attended the last several basketball games, and just to watch our teams get out there and hustle and play and give everything they had, that was awesome. So they did a great job.
Well, I think we already talked about this, but I love the unified basketball game that they have, and I was talking to one of the PE teachers, and she's trying to get Special Olympics here, and so that would be so awesome. And I love that we're moving in that direction. The kids love it, all the kids, like all the high school kids love it, and so I'm just really proud to say that we have that here and that we're going to continue to look in that direction.
If she'd like any information, Bridget a number of years ago did Special Olympics with soccer.
Okay, I'll tell her that.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I'll just make a quick shout out to Nutrition Services Department. They served Caesar, salmon Caesar salad on Friday, February 2nd. Salmon was provided by the Office of, the OSPI, Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, from a food grant that the state of Washington Child Nutrition received. OSPI sourced the salmon from the Muckleshoot Indian tribe, and our Nutrition Services Department has also received other things like ground bison, raspberries, apricots, and other items as part of this grant. This just really calls out a partnership that the school district has with the Muckleshoot Indian tribe, and we just want to thank them for sharing their resources with us in this way.
And just good luck to our wrestlers
Yes.
who will be experiencing madness this weekend. Super proud of all of them, so I can't wait to hear how that goes.
And they had a great send-off today.
Yeah.
And it's already on Facebook, they showed the send-off. And so that was so exciting to see and to get people aware that that's going on. So we already have it publicized.
It's awesome.
And I just want to add another shout out to the high school band. They had solo and ensemble that was a couple weeks ago. I wish I knew the exact number. I know my daughter was part of it, but they went. They did a phenomenal job while they were there. And I think we had a couple of them going to state for it. So.
Very cool. So a lot of success and a lot of good work to celebrate.
And you should see how big the pigs are.
I need to walk back there and see. I'm counting on one of those pigs.
Oh, well, the biggest one is, you'd have to have a real big family.
I don't, but yeah. Last year I got outbid by grandparents of our students, and so I'm ready.
Make sure that it's not when you do.
Oh yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Saturday is spring
I
fair.
was-
Yes.
Okay, Saturday's.
Saturday is spring fair.
Okay.
And we can find out when exactly they move the lambs and the pigs, and then the steers at different times.
Okay.
So we can find out as we get closer.
Okay.
And there's even more than the pigs there. Was it 8 they have now? FFA has 8, because some of them are at people's houses.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Great. Okay. So good things. Great things are happening in our district. I see we have some guests in our audience. I don't think anybody has signed up to speak. Bonnie's Fan Club. I love that. Welcome. And Superintendent Katzenbeeler, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. We'll pull up a report. First thing we'll share is just a little bit about what we see with the election. We saw another update since I prepared this for you earlier today. So where we're sitting as of today, the amount of yeses ticked up to 55.77%, so another 45 or so yeses, and about 20 noes. So overall, we're seeing more engagement than we've seen previously, more registered voters and more engagement and more favorable engagement. When we looked to April a year ago, there were about 2,100 yeses and about 1,900 noes. So noes tick ever so slightly, yeses up, but that's not enough to get to 60%. If the number of noes stayed solid at that number, we would need about 500 more yes votes to tip to 60%. So part of what we hope to do is to unpack the data like we've done in the past and provide you some information. You can decide, what does that mean for us? Does that mean additional surveys? How does that feedback inform when we go out again, if, when, all those types of things. We did send a letter to our parents and guardians today, and we put a line in there with the questions, comments, feedback for you as a board of directors, and we made sure they knew how to contact you, or questions or comments for me as well, that my email is there as well. So we're hoping that kind of outreach provides some information. The election won't be certified for another couple weeks yet, so we imagine some votes will tick in, but we don't see that the results will substantively change at this point. So when we see that increased engagement, we think many of those messages that we put out there are having some favorable impact. When we did our mailer home, we saw a lot of draw to the website in January. The committee, Yes Committee, put out a door hanger in February, and we saw that drive a lot of traffic. So we think we're connecting with more people getting the information for more frequent mailers and contact and things of that nature. But obviously we have some work to do, and when we look at social media, we see some misunderstanding and some probably quoted facts, I would say, that aren't accurate as well. So we want to keep up that fight and put out good information. Looking at the implications, I wanted to share a little bit about whether the vote was favorable or not favorable. We have some very near-term challenges. We've been trying to tell that story. That is one map of one neighborhood that's currently under development that will be taking occupancy within the next 6 to 12 months. So what you can see there is hundreds and hundreds of homes that are almost occupied. I would like to spend some time, this is Director Madigan's territory, I'd like to spend some time with each of you if we can figure out a time where a couple at a time we can go take a look. I think you need to tour and see what's on the horizon. And we also have developments within the city limits of Orting as well. So we have growth, we're 44 square miles in all aspects. So we're taking some steps to prepare for that. One move.
Where is that?
That is in the Tahali area, and that's near the intersection of Tahali Boulevard and Cascadia Boulevard. So if you were to come in through the north from Sumner Bonnie Lake, you feed in through the top left road, and then hang a left when you get into Tahali, and that's a new area under development. Beautiful views, single family and some multifamily homes, townhomes up there. So that's on the horizon. And we found that out by taking a tour when we were trying to get information out and put outreach out there. And that just opened our eyes, several of us that were there, like, wow, that's a lot of growth. I didn't know it was that close. So what are we doing? Well, we're expanding our early learning support. We've already heard that we're growing our numbers anticipated in developmental preschool. So we're going to move early learning, developmental preschool, and ECAP to Ptarmigan Ridge for next school year. So we're working on replacement of a portable so that it has restrooms. That age and the needs of those learners are such they need access to a restroom in the room. So we'll also add, by replacing one portable that doesn't have restrooms with one that does, we'll purchase another portable so we can add 4 classrooms at Ptarmigan Ridge. We're anticipating not only growth with our early learning, but when we look at our K-5 numbers, we believe at this point we probably need to add about 4 classrooms next year to keep up with the growth we've already had. That doesn't include the growth on the horizon. So when we do that next year, what you can anticipate, as we've discussed, once early learning vacates the ECAP building, that's the 1961 building that is in very poor condition, we anticipate tearing that down in next school year and adding 3 more double portables behind Orting High School, Orting Elementary School. So we have capacity there as well. That'll be sometime into next school year. Those 2 moves will give us the ability to grow at Orting Elementary, Ptarmigan Ridge, and or Orting High School, based on where we see. Because what happens when this comes in, we don't know what grade and what level, and it's probably not going to come in nice and neat and even. So that'll give us capacity at 3 of our schools. As you remember, the middle school has it's the only school that's not really over capacity significantly, so that has some room currently, but we'll be keeping an eye on that. So all that portable shift will add capacity in the near term before and into next school year, which should put us okay for the next year and a half. Our parent survey, if you recall that, they really didn't like students in portables and want them to move in permanent capacity. The only way through that is with the bond. And so at this point, we're probably 4 years out, and one thing that I can promise you, if and when you decide to run that again, it will be more expensive for the taxpayers. In our area, construction costs grow on average about 7 to 8% a year, if you recall, so we would anticipate that whenever that goes back out in November or later, it will be for a higher price point. So that's what's happening really to help get things accommodated in the near term, and want to make sure you know what's happening. We will put out some communication to families. If you recall, also last year, based on the tightness of the Orting Elementary facility, we have been and will continue to move some of the 3rd graders to 4th grade at PTR until we kind of normalize enrollment. We may need another section or 2 of 1st or 2nd, or in addition to the 3rd grade, to go as well to balance out the size of the schools. So by moving early learning, we get a couple portables back, so we have a little bit more flexibility. But we're analyzing what growth is coming in versus who we have today. And we're also seeing growth in our resource and life skills classrooms as well. So we're putting those pieces of the puzzle together in the next 4 to 6 weeks so we can be well ahead of communicating with families by May. That would be our goal like we did last year. Some great things happening. As you know, social emotional learning, the whole child learning has been a goal of the system. You'll hear from these folks here in a couple of weeks at our next board work section. Here we see Principal Logan helping to lead an assembly. The focus was on perseverance, so every month there's a character trait our teachers emphasize and students are recognized. And part of your other goal around community engagement and partnership, take a look at that. Standing room only, parents there to celebrate their kids. So we're continuing that partnership, whether it's watchdogs, recognition, trying to get people into the facilities and be good partners and connect with their students. And that was just a wonderful time. Kids had an amazing time cheering. And because we believe in that community connection and partnership, there you'll see, I know it's hard to see in the picture, but there's 2 students leading the charge about a food drive, raising food support locally. Canned soup and peanut butter are needed, so I wanted to make sure anyone watching knows that it's not too late to donate to the PTR or OES food drive, and those kids are going to make them very, very happy as they help to support our local community. I just thought I'd share this picture. I knew you were going to speak to the food service. We will bring that team in based on the quality and condition with farm-to-table partnerships, local shopping. We have seen our food service sales explode, thousands and thousands more meals this year. Director Christensen will have some information, I'm sure, before we recognize that team next month. But in March, we do have the Classified Staff Appreciation Week, and we thought, what a better way to celebrate than to bring them in and say thank you. So you can see a picture of what that salmon and Caesar look like, and that is sourced free of charge for us through federal grants, and sourced by not only Muckleshoot, but Lummi fishermen as well. So great local connection to our Puget Sound resource. We saw some comments on social media. Why can't you build a new school through grant funding? Well, I wanted to get some information out there about what we're trying to do. There's just not enough grant money to build a new school. We do have a current application in with the state of Washington requesting $5.3 million for our early learning facility. As you saw in my Friday update, Representative Wilcox and Barkas are continuing to name this their top legislative priority. They're starting that conversation this week at the state legislative session around early learning and capital expenditures. So that's in the works. We will be applying for Department of Commerce funding for early learning when that grant opens up in April. And there is some regional PASTA dollars available. We anticipate applying for that as well. So we want to keep applying for as much grant support as we can. Within the last year, including a $15,000 grant this year, we received over $100,000 to replace lights in our facilities. Every time we replace the old lights with the new energy efficient LED, we see about a 12 to 18 month return on investment. So we're getting the goods for free based on grant money. Our own staff are installing, and our taxpayers get to save money and enjoy the benefit of that investment relatively soon, a year to 18 months. We're seeing a good return on investment there. We just received a $25,000 digital equity grant. That supports hearing, visual aids, auditory supports for students with special needs so they have access to the curriculum. So we have lots of things going on where we have the ability. The one thing we don't have the ability is to find a grant for $117 million to replace things that can only be funded through that bigger investment through a bond, unfortunately. So we have no other way to get to that element. Speaking about finances, we are in legislative. It's a session, it's a short session, but I wanted to bring to your attention and our public's what I think is just really a travesty. We continue to see it underfunding from the state of Washington for what we would say are essential goods and services. So we wrote a regional position paper and just thinking about 2 areas of budget, utilities and insurance. When we look at what we are funded for from the state of Washington, whose paramount duty is to provide for the education and welfare of our students, and we look at what our actual costs are, just those 2 areas alone, we see this year a projected $627,000 gap between what we receive and what our costs are. Our insurance bill is going up about 24% per year, our funding about 2.5% to 3%. So we're continuing to see that gap widen, so when people wonder why we're having a tough time on the bottom line, is because costs and goods and materials, and this is just 2 areas, continue to escalate much faster than the revenues are coming in. So that will lead to a tightening of our budget heading into next year and future years. So we're sounding the alarm with legislators, trying to make sure they understand. The information we get is they're seeing a surplus of revenues, more money than expected last year and this year, So our fight is you need to put this where your paramount duty is. Because I don't think it's right that our local taxpayers, our local levy have to spend 10% of that just to pay for utilities and insurance. So we want to keep that fight out there, public. New Year to share about this, and I'm sure our student board reps will have some information, but there's a cheer team heading off to state. As always, we have the big send-off. Bowling team, 4th at state, they did a wonderful job. They had a send-off too. Wrestlers had a send-off today, so we'll be looking at their results tomorrow. And the next day, there is a possibility, based on the amount of wrestlers we sent, that we could lock in the title by tomorrow night. So tune in and watch and see what's happening. Great things happening. PTA Community Partnership Education, what would you say? Probably 500 people or so?
That was
aggregate?
my
It
guess.
was,
So
That was my guess.
I wanted to put some pictures just so you could see the excitement and the fun. And kids just, it's hard to see on that screen, but on your packet you'll see it. Tremendous smiles and wonderful, wonderful time had by all. Focus on academic growth. Here you will see a little contest at Ptarmigan Ridge, 3rd grade. How will he make it rain? Oh, you're gonna have to help me, elementary teachers. Fodelson? Fodelson? How do you say that? I didn't know who that is, but they're having a big contest with Feeble Fodelson. I can't even get that out. And how's he gonna make it rain? And they're getting really excited, and I can't wait for you to spend next month at our board work sessions in both elementary schools. You're gonna hear amazing things about how are they focusing on mathematical reasoning, thinking, problem solving, and how they're continuing the focus on literacy. So there's amazing work happening. And just for our public out there, it's not too early. We are open now to register for kindergarten. We want to make sure we pair the number of teachers based on the number of students anticipated. So if you have a kindergartner looking to register, please come. And I thought I'd show just a few pictures because this happened when we had our last board meeting and many of us didn't get to see it. There's just a few photos from the OMS art show. Incredible, incredible talent. There's no way I could come close to that type of art, and seeing that come from our 13, 14, 15-year-olds is just absolutely incredible. So we had a wonderful turnout, and that concludes my report.
I just wanted to share with our audience, because I saw you taking notes, there's lots of information that we give out, and if you don't get it all listening, you can go to our website, go to the board, and you can go to board docs, and all this information is public information. So if you want to return to something, that's how you do it.
I didn't get that sign.
I mean, I love the how it will make it rain, but did anyone just even, this is 3rd grade, look at the figurative language poster
Right?
behind it? I'm like, what the heck? That is crazy. That's amazing, pretty impressive.
and just a shout out to our elementary school. So the glow dance was wildly successful. But I understand there's going to be another bingo night. And I attended the first bingo and had to share my supplies because it was sold out. There's some great things happening. Spring Bazaar coming up with the high school students. So just super impressed with the community connections that our schools are making.
Oh, and Read Across Sorting
Yes.
is March 5th.
Yes.
I wanted to just quickly thank you for putting in your report the grant funding page and the one about the regional position paper. I don't think a lot of people outside of those of us that are part of education in this form understand all that goes into running a school district. So I'm really glad to have that out there. I know there's not a lot of people probably listening or here, but something to go back to and say, this is our transparency. This is what we do. It's we love all the kids stuff. It's the best part. But these are the other things that are being dealt with as well.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for putting that in.
Exactly. Okay. Thank you, sir. All right. Under our reports, our next item is our student representatives report. Who's going first?
So you guys mentioned a lot about our sports. We had cheer placed 5th, bowling placed 4th. We've got wrestling going to state. This this weekend, both Friday and Saturday. I've heard that Saturday is more enjoyable, so for that day, guys. And we have Tolo coming up March 2nd. And it's new this year, so it's a student-led project. They put it on, organized it, it's on teams all week. We also have like our food grams going around right now, so we've got like duck sales, card sales, stickers. We also wrote cards to teachers and like classified staff members and all that kind of stuff, just wishing them a happy Valentine's Day and thanking them for their amazingness. And heard from a lot of them that it made their day, so it was really exciting to hear. Especially because sometimes I feel like they don't get those cute little cards as much.
Yeah, that is elementary.
Yeah, as much as elementary school teachers, so I think it's really sweet that we were able to do that for them and just let them know how much that we care about them, especially with the Valentine's Day holiday. What do you think?
I would like to talk about the Spring Bazaar. So that is another student-led project, and it's actually led by me and another student in my 4th period. About last year, we had about 40 vendors show up. This year, we have about 80 going on to maybe 100. So I really am excited for that. I do encourage all of you guys to go because it's going to be a big event. We have the pack reserved and the gym this year, so we have a lot of people coming, so it should be pretty exciting.
Congrats, that's awesome. Very cool. When is it again?
The Spring Bazaar.
When?
March 23rd and the 24th.
Okay.
2 days.
Yes, we're doing it 2 days this year too.
Wow.
I believe I'm working.
Tolo, I have like the team's information that day. So it's like I can't even, if I wanted to, like, wink, guys, okay?
Yeah.
Obligations.
Well, I do have to say the students put on one heck of a bazaar last year,
Yes.
and for you to double it in size, that's really impressive.
Yeah,
So, great job.
Especially after we had to move it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That whole idea, we were like kind of scared that maybe we wouldn't get as much because it's not a December bazaar thing where people are buying their holiday gifts, but
You're just gonna force us to shop early.
exactly. Now buy some spring stuff, guys.
That's right. Easter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you never know. Summer stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's around the corner.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, congratulations. Good job. I'm excited for that. Very good. Thanks, guys. For you also have attached the draft 2024-2025 budget planning process and timeline. And this is a prepared by, so are there any questions or anything on the timeline? No? Okay, great. I would just also, again, like to invite the community to take a look at the budget planning process and timeline. And if you have any questions about the process, the budget, what it means to operate a school district, the district doors are open. Director Bannon would be happy to answer any questions that you might have. Again, this is all transparent information posted on our website and available to the public for questions. So if you're curious or have thoughts about how the district spends its money, this will be a great opportunity to learn more.
Yeah.
The next item is a financial report. Any questions on that? I didn't see any come through prior to the meeting.
But I love how it's done, so you can just see every little thing that's happening here in the world.
And I really liked your question.
Oh,
Well, that was on the insurance.
right. Great, the next item is the annual insurance report, which I appreciated. I sent a question, we have, I should probably read the question. Of course, I don't have that queued up. Thank you.
I think the big idea of the question is sometimes we accumulate more reserves than needed. And so when is the appropriate time to access that? And really the question, genesis of the question is do we need it right now, or do we anticipate we'll need that more next fiscal year? And in our conversations, we see greater tightness heading into next fiscal year. So we're able to either take some money back or delay the payment of premiums. And so our analysis shows that next fiscal year is better than to take that right now. So it's a great question, and that's what you weigh, is when is the greatest need, and we see that moving into the next fiscal year. So that is the plan, to delay paying the premiums on that so that we can kind of ease in the financial burden heading into next fiscal year. Because as you recall, the ESSER dollars that we've been having are gone, and that's going to have a huge financial impact heading into the next year.
And Marcy's answer was so clear, I totally understood the how and the why, and
Yes,
thank you.
makes sense. That's what you want to see. Thank you, thank you. That comments. And the next report we have is presented by Director Rab. That is the withdrawal prior to graduation.
Any questions? Board, have any questions about the report?
I did not. Did look at it. Yeah.
I was just noticing that that there are three, I think 3 or more of them were from the, is that the online program that we use? Okay.
Grad lines, yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of that one. I knew we were using something, but,
We still use that.
okay.
Yeah, that's for helping our kids that attending is not really an option,
Okay.
so that they can do that online, and that their coursework is all taken care of by an agency, basically.
Okay. How many kids do we have in that? You know?
That I'm not sure, I can find that out for you. Not a bunch,
No, I didn't think so.
no.
Steve, I didn't think of this question beforehand. I think when I saw, what is there, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 or 12 students, I guess I thought that there could be more, that there would be more kids that maybe pass through our system for whatever reason. And is this typical for 1 year? I don't remember historically.
Yeah, it's pretty close to what it is on an annual basis, and the ones that really show up in the reports, as you'll see in the reason behind it, is they just drop out of sight, and we can't find them.
Yeah.
We don't know where they are. Some of them are part of our system that transfer to like Grand Alliance, and then they don't attend, and some of them are, they transfer to another district, but then they don't ever get re-registered, and so you'll see in a lot of those situations where we can't find them. You know, we've done a lot of work to try to discover where they are, to see if we can get them back online, but
Director Chasey, the current number of February was 10, and I think the range, if I were to estimate the last 3 years, is 10 to 15. The state of Washington has created much more flexibility in recent years to do graduation waivers. So I don't know that the need has been as strong as it has been in the past without the flexibility of waivers. When those go away, I would anticipate probably a greater impact moving forward. The program that I know you've heard from Jennifer Planellis and now Shelley Boyce has done a lot of work in the high school to try to recover prior to the need for dropping out. So that's been, those two things, the credit waivers and that end of school day support, I think have helped to minimize the need for the Grad Alliance.
Yes, there's really not much that can be done if they're just not responsive and just disappear. So,
it's hard. Yeah.
yeah.
But the high school does a tremendous job tracking kids.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, they do. Yeah, I've heard stories,
Yeah.
driving out to their houses,
For sure,
where
for sure.
are you? That's
Yeah.
some great dedication there. Board, any questions on this report? All right.
Next, the hard drill.
Yes.
So last year for the Lahar drill, we did a tabletop exercise, so we did not do a full evacuation. It's been 2 years since we've done an evacuation, and this year is going to also be a multi-district drill with some surrounding districts. It's very similar to the Lahar drills we've done in the past. There are a few exceptions to what's been common. And first of all, day of the week is going to be different. We've normally done it on a Friday in May, and it's going to be a Thursday. And so how that's a little bit different is we have our preschoolers in session on Thursday, and they haven't been in session on Friday before. So we've been working through the details of that. We had a meeting just this morning about it. And in terms of the transportation issues with them, they all have to be in a 5-point harness and a variety of different things. We're only going to be able to drill with our morning preschool and not our afternoon preschool. And actually taking them on a route and getting them back and then delivering and then going and picking up the afternoon preschool, it got a little complicated. So what we're going to do differently with the preschool students is we're going to run a kind of a mock drill. So they will be transported to a bus, they will be secured in a bus, we're going to drive them around the block, and we're going to bring them back.
Okay.
And then we'll schedule another drill for the afternoon kids. So the teachers will know what's going on, but we also want to make that known for the preschool kids. The other change is the time of day. Normally it's 10 o'clock. It's 9:30 this time. And the reason for that is because it's a multi-district drill, the time starts at 9 officially for all the different districts. We are starting at 9:30 because by the time PTR, which is our last students to arrive, that gives them just 30 minutes to kind of get kids and breakfast and in their classrooms and then take off on the trail or whatever. So we'll start officially at 9:30. We think it should take a couple hours to do it as we would typically expect. The last thing that's different about it is the month. And so normally this is May. I have, let's see, we did, we skipped it during COVID, and then we did a tabletop, so I've done it 5 times. This actually be my 5th time. So the previous 4 times that we did the drill, it was beautiful. When I heard it was March, I thought, okay, whose idea was this?
That was what I said.
Rain or shine. And so, as you guys know, my background is middle school, and I know what middle school kids smell like. So it could be really interesting if it rains. But rain or shine, we'll go, and kids will go. And we are really trying to make this as much as a real event as possible, all the way to the top. We're trying to learn from some of the details that we've learned in the past, which a lot of kids would get halfway up the hill and then turn around and come back. So we've got plants along the way to make sure they go all the way to the top. And secondary kids go to the top, turn around and walk back. Elementary kids go to the top, and then they get on a bus, and then we bus them back. Yeah, that's all right, doesn't work. And I'll just lastly say, because like I said, it's a lot very much similar. My partner in crime on this has been Bonnie. And I just want to give a little shout out to Bonnie. I guess if Bonnie's my partner in crime, that makes me Clyde.
Something else.
Saving that one.
He just wanted to use that.
Bonnie and the Clyde drill. I very much appreciated Bonnie's support and process in this. And her attention to detail is not anything like what I understand about attention to detail. So this is going
Oh,
to be...
you don't have to tell them.
So, and I mean, she's really leaned into the details. And, you know, she's looked at different ways that we've done it. She's like, boy, there's a cleaner way to do this. And so we're really thrilled about it. Superintendent Hatzenbeeler will be up at Command Central at the Emergency Center in Puyallup, and he'll be in there with other agency individuals that will be watching all of this transpire on a big digital board and whatnot like that. I'll be the one that's kind of overseeing the administrative side of it here, and then we'll go up, we'll have what they call a hot wash. I'm learning all kinds of new cool terms. We'll have a hot wash after that, and then we'll come back down here, and we'll have our system debrief at 1 o'clock right here in this room. So a lot of those agency people that will be up in Puyallup, and Superintendent Hatzenbeeler and myself, and we'll just kind of come back and say, okay, how do we do? And you know, we're going to be able to get there. The one thing that we're still trying to process is, and this has been a problem, the way we've done it in the past is we park the buses over here ahead of time so that people that can't walk ride, and so the buses are already here waiting for them. and then we take them on a tour up to Military Road, turn around and come back, just as a part of that thing. That's not really what would happen necessarily in a real event. So we wanted to see if we could just have everybody start from ground zero when the bell goes, everybody does it. We're running into a little bit of difficulty around that Bonnie and I are trying to negotiate one way or another. Either the bus routes are a little bit different than being out on the highway, because that's what gets blocked, and getting the buses here. Or, and you probably remember this from, I believe the last time Chris presented on this, they have now a color warning system that is, that's green, yellow, and red, and it's really tied to aviation. So in the event of activity in the volcano and air, stuff like that, they put out these different color warnings. And so one of the things that I want to try to find out is, can we use that would that be a reasonable way for us to be prepared? So like yellow before red, which gives you plenty of warning to know whether something is potentially going to happen. And if we're in a yellow scenario, for example, maybe we just start parking buses out there during the course of the day until the color changes to green, or so if it ever hits red, they're already there. That might be the modification that we're making. That's probably a little bit more detailed than you were curious about, but and pretty much the rest of us will look pretty much the same, and so I'll be happy to answer any of your questions that you have.
Just, if the buses are not going to be there, and all of the high school and OES cross here,
Yeah.
how will the buses get to there?
Yeah, you
Because
just named
kids
it.
will be-
You just named the problem.
Yeah, I've done it so many times, and
Yeah.
you immediately like. oh.
Yeah, and in my head, what I was struggling with was, okay, let's say this is a real Lahar, and we've got 45 minutes to get kids out. Does that mean that if you're riding a bus, you're the last to leave town? And that's my big question. And so as much as possible, we want this to transpire as if it was a real deal, right? And we even pushed on the preschool kids a little bit to say we really wanted them to do the whole thing, but virtue of the fact that it was only half of them and not all of them, and we backed off on that one a little bit. But I would like to try to problem solve this one, because
I mean, if it was the real thing, you could go up the alley here the wrong way and nobody's gonna care, but normally,
yeah, we're working with the transportation supervisor to see if we can change the route a little bit. So, yeah, you got it. That's exactly the option, right?
I mean.
Is the back roads.
Yeah.
And does it work? Can you get buses through there and turn around? What does that look like? And, yeah.
Without running over kids or anything like that.
Yeah. It might be really simplified if we find out that color system is workable. And what I understand, I don't understand all of it yet, but like if you're in yellow, you can be in yellow for 2 weeks before it potentially even goes to red. And red's like, all right, let's rock and roll. But that's okay. If you were in yellow and we just started the end of the route, we just lined up buses out there and left them there all day. And
Imagine if we're in yellow, we won't have as many kids at school. I just have this many.
that's
Yeah.
good too. Yeah. And
Or people in the valley.
Yeah. But, okay, I don't know if I'm making this up, but I thought that a couple of years ago, we had someone come in and say they were studying the actual Lahar and that it might not be as devastating as they thought, and they were doing more research on that. Do you guys remember that? Did you ever hear anything else about that?
No final reports.
Okay.
There was some supposition that based on the weakness of the structure of the cone, it could flow to a greater degree east and not west,
Okay.
things of that nature, but I never heard anything back after that study.
Okay, I was wondering about that.
the last time Ed was up there at the top, he kind of went like this.
Someone's
solid.
Just the same.
I'll tell you again in June, I'll let you know.
Steve, I volunteered at the Calistoga Bridge, I think almost all the years. And there's been, some years where we closed off one lane of
Yep.
Calistoga, and then other years, I think one year we did it, and the kids were supposed to stay on the sidewalk. I was just curious.
Yeah,
about
but
that.
then
Yeah.
That
Last
would
year,
happen.
last year,
Yeah, it's it's still one lane closed, and the police are gonna monitor that. Bonnie, did you hear anything else from Chief about that specifically? Because I know you had a similar question when you met with him.
Right, like you were saying, it was very difficult to keep the kids on the sidewalk,
Yeah.
so we're very, very pleased that they made that change, that the one direction also will be completely open, so maybe we'll even improve our time.
Awesome, that's great.
What day of March?
Kayla's
21st.
like,
Oh, he here.
Oh.
Gosh, dang it.
Is that a sigh of relief or?
I'm really sad I missed it for the 12th time I've done it. Really, it's heartbroken. Yeah. Wanted to see all these changes, especially
I
the
know,
race.
right?
Yeah.
Right now shines.
Yeah.
It will, I mean, it doesn't matter what the weather is, we're going.
It's okay, guys, I can watch it on the news.
Well, I, once again, since I've retired and don't have a second grade class, once again, I am going with a kindergarten class.
There you go.
So,
My mom did that one year, and she was carrying more kids than
Yes.
she was actually
yes,
helping.
yes, it's, yes. That's why when I heard in March, I went,
it's always fun though.
Oh, yeah.
At least that's, actually, it's been really hot, I feel like the kids were like,
yeah,
Overly.
yeah.
It's actually really nice when it's like really nice and warm outside, and you're just kind of walking.
when you go back to school and you get an lollipop and you get a little bit longer.
What, like lunch on the field one year, it was great.
Yeah.
I missed that.
And well, at the elementary, you
That's
got,
because you were at the bridge.
yeah.
You weren't carrying the elementary school.
Right,
kids,
that's fair.
why.
I wasn't carrying
Yeah.
it. That's fair. Director Rabb, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And don't forget to send out lots of reminders to families to have the kids dress
Yes.
appropriately.
And to drive a different way.
Yes, yes, that.
That's always painful to watch too, is like the amount of people that are just stuck in that line, and they're just like,
At first, it's so funny because they're like, oh, the kids. And then
Yes.
after a while, they're like, how many kids?
yeah.
A lot.
A lot of kids. All right, moving along. Thank you very much. We've got our consent agenda next, so I will entertain a motion. Oh. Oh,
Second
sorry, I'm jumping ahead. Thank you. I am jumping ahead. Second reading of policy considerations. We only have one. Board policy regarding non-discrimination and affirmative action. If there is no further discussion or edits to this document, I will entertain a motion for this.
Motion to approve second reading of policy consideration.
Thank you. Can I get a
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you very much. Now, consent agenda. So we have vouchers, personnel shifts, and a number of field trips, which is great. Enrichment learning for our students, as well as board business. Can I get a motion?
I move to approve items 1 through 9 on the consent agenda.
Second?
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. And I will finish out with board comments. All right.